Um, Sorry, just kind of getting going. Hi, Kellyanne. Yeah, it just gives you sends a pin code to your email each time.
Yes, all good. Now I figure out.
Um,
I'll
Yeah.
be back in just a sec. Let me just check with this guy.
Sounds good. Deborah has a maintenance person coming.
Okay.
At, of course, the
So,
exact time that the meeting is that she's going to talk at. But I'm sure it will work fine. The- um, all right, Kenny, thanks for joining us. Yeah, appreciate that. Hi, yeah,
Happy to be
hi,
here.
Kenny. You want to say hi?
Hi, everybody. I'm Kenny Asher. I'm in Portland, Oregon. I'm here for the first time, trying to get a feel for what y'all are up to, and excited to learn what you're doing and how it all works and how it might be applicable here in Portland, where I'm pretty focused.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you coming and reaching out and yeah, sort of seeing what we're about. Yeah, hopefully that's the idea is that this is applicable to um, yeah, applicable to, like land-based communities and location-based and, purpose-based and professional-based. So that's where Circle of Trust comes in as well, where we're kind of making this platform available for all different types of communities. Yeah, let's see. So it's 5:06. Someone, I think, is Justin here? Gallery. Oh, okay, Justin jumped in. Oh, Saya. Oh, there's more people here. Great. I was on a view where people were hidden. Yeah. Well, what do we think? Deborah, are you okay as far to get started as far as the maintenance person?
Yeah, there just might be some background noise because there's always background activity going on. Um, Hello, everyone. I'm happy to get started if you're good for me to start, Rob.
Yeah, I think that's great. And what we've been doing, generally speaking, is starting with just sharing some material and then going into breakout rooms. So that way and as the meeting goes on, we've definitely been everybody's had a chance to get their thoughts and their voice into the room, and actually that's been, you know, some of the most rich part of the meetings. So just wanting to let you know that it's not going to be us talking at you for 90 minutes.
yeah, I just want to present that I will jump out in 20 minutes and I hope I can come back just to let you know. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, so Rob was sneaky because he was like, Deborah, I think I'm gonna need you for Tuesday and Wednesday. And then I looked, I was like, oh, Bart's coming on tomorrow. So now I got competition. So now I'm like, okay, I gotta make this good. Bart is a buddy of mine over at Gaianet that I recently had a good connection with, and so I'm interested in seeing the angle he's gonna bring to it. But the beauty of looking at things holistically and doing things from a systems thinking perspective is that the more diversity, the better. No two people have it exactly the same. So hopefully you won't be bored with this presentation or Bart's tomorrow. So yeah, I'm Deborah A. Lovely to see everyone. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I am located in the unceded lands of the Fauna Autham Peoples Nation over in southern Arizona, also known as Phoenix. And I've been running offers and needs markets for about no, almost a year and a half now. I've done them virtually, I've done them in person. And so we're just gonna hop in. I'm just gonna give you, this is basically just a quick, no, hold on a sec.
Maintenance person. I think I said that.
Sorry, the germaphobe part of me just went over for a sec. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen and present. Let's see here. I think this is it, but I'm on a different screen. So I'm gonna come here. There we go. So I'm just the goal of today's presentation is just to kind of give you a quick intro. Like I said, I think you all will have some awesome follow-up or more detail and different angle tomorrow with Bart. But yeah, this is a quick intro to the offers and needs market, why we do it, and kind of how it fits into the HSC ecosystem. Okay, so I'm actually, you know what? Before I do that, let me just get a quick show of hands. How many people have actually been to an offers and needs markets, participated in one before? Raise of hands. So just me and Rob? Just us two? Okay. Okay, cool, cool, cool. That's always good to know. That way I know if I'm repeating stuff too much. Okay, cool, cool, cool. All right. So this is a offers and needs market we did in person over the summer last year for local food systems. Super fun. Our youngest participant was less than 2 years old. So good times. Um, a little bit about me. You all had the intro from Rob, but I just wanted to kind of just bridge the gap. So I'm definitely revolutionary, traveled a lot, but my family is originally from Nigeria. So not at all unfamiliar with open air markets, the idea of exchange or value exchange in community, and we'll build on that theme. Okay. So this is the idea that you can be thinking about as we go through these topics, and then at the end, this will be our theme for our breakout session, breakout room, which is the 8 forms of capital. So I'm pretty sure Rob's already gone through this, but I'm just going to very quickly just kind of share. We have 8 forms of capital. We got spiritual, social, material, financial, living, cultural, experiential, and intellectual. So these different 8 forms of capital are how like we see or measure value in our lives. And the idea of the commons is that everyone, the commons, everybody has equal rights, you could say, to having all of their needs met through these different forms of capital. Right now, it doesn't mean that everyone's going to have the same amounts of these different forms of capital, but just that we all have the right to have it's our human right to have our needs met in all these 8 different areas. And let's see. Yeah, so what we're doing here at HSC is really more focusing on this alternate to the money economy, because we know, right? You know, this so-called alternate economy is the economy. If we did not have what we could call, what are we calling it here? The community economy or the gift economy. There's a lot of different names for it. No one would be alive because babies can't pay rent. They can't comp their parents for laundry, meal, chauffeur, and cleaning services. We can't comp the trees, rivers, soil, and air for keeping us alive and well. Like, we can't do that. So, literally everything. So, if we think about it like that, we start to see that the money economy is this tiny artificial piece of a much bigger system that is already working. And if the money economy was gone, we'd all still be fine. It's I just had to put that out there because I don't really understand what's going on with this whole backwards thinking that we've got in our world today. But really, what the money economy has done has extracted in a one-way way. It's not like, okay, I take and I give back something of value to, it's not exchange, it's just extraction, right? And so that extraction has put us completely out of balance because it's been extracting from the commons. It's been extracting from the trees, water, air, the goodness, the kindness of one's heart that makes you a human. It's been extracting from all of that, from all of us, in all of those 8 forms of capital, all of this time. So the offers and needs market is a tool that I see as taking us a baby step back into starting to restore some of what has been extracted and lost to the money economy. It doesn't mean that there's no money involved in an offers and needs market. It just means that the way that we relate with each other, the way that we exchange value, and the way that we interact and transact is very different from the way that it's done in the money economy. And so this helps us to restore the balance. It helps us to start to move back into a better relationship with all of nature, of which we are a part. We are nature just as much as the soil and the trees. So it's a 2-hour container for people to share what they can offer and what they need, and then make connections, all in a relaxed, psychologically safe setting. So I overheard Basilica, and I know many of us have been on the platform already, and we've already written out some of our offers and some of our needs. Well, this kind of brings that screen or those form pieces or fields in the form, it brings it to life in the sense that instead of it just being fields in a form, we get a chance to actually interact and really connect to it. And I think what I've noticed is that when we write offers and needs in a platform, and when we share them verbally in a safe, psychologically safe setting, actually they sound quite different. And often the things we offer and the things we share that we need also sound different. Some of them might be the same, but a lot of times it's different. And that's because we're focused on really building, I think it's the next slide. We're focused on really building relationships. We're focused on building trust. We're focused on connecting. It is not, and usually people, the offers and the needs exchange, the actual connections are really like they almost become the afterthought. I don't like that either. I really still want them to be center, but people really leave with the sense of, wow, I really feel like so much more connection. My soul feels nourished. I feel safe. I feel relaxed. And that's what we want. We want people to leave feeling restored and replenished and refreshed and feeling more valuable, really not more valuable, feeling more connected to their intrinsic value than before they entered. So yeah, here's a quick agenda, and I'm just going to walk through this with you all so you can start to visualize what it will look like. We're going to have one on Saturday, this coming Saturday. So I want you to think about how this will work. We'll have a kind of a welcome. I usually tell a story. I'm running out of stories because, I'm starting to get repeat people at my offers and needs markets. I'm like, I got to get a new story. But anyway, I'll find something by Saturday. We talk about why we do this, and what the goals are. And then we start with the offers market, which is 25 minutes of first we model how to do an offer, how we do it, and then we go around in a circle. The circle can be up to 8 people, ideally 5 or 6, but it can be up to 8 people. If there's more than 8 people there, we usually break out into 2 breakout rooms. And then we just share in that circle, whatever order it is, what we would like to offer. One offer at a time, we go around 3 times. Then we have like 5 minutes for people to ask questions of each other and say, okay, what did you mean by that offer? What is this? And get the details and make notes. Then we put it into a spreadsheet, or we put it into the Circle Trust app. So is it Circle Trust or Circle Market? Circle Market app, Rob?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Then we take a break. And then we come back and then we do the needs market. Same structure. We model how we share our needs. We take a few minutes to write down what our needs are, and then we go around round robin 3 times and share within 20 seconds or less what our needs are. Then, if we have a lot of people, then we might do a lightning round, which is where we go one more time and just very quickly just share what our offers and needs might be in case, like with a different group of people. That I did more when I do the in-person than I did on virtual, because usually in virtual, it's not quite big enough for that to make sense. But if it does, we do it. And then we do a little bit of reflection, quietly, silent reflection, and then we fill out a very short 3-minute survey and we close. So that's the agenda. And so here are some of our goals. Again, just kind of a recap. We want to build a live, interactive expansion upon the idea of a market. And when I say a market, forget the materials marketplace here. That was for something else. But when I say market, I'm talking about, think about like an open air market where you're going and you're exchanging food or clothing or art, crafts, whatever it might be, whether it's in the form of money or something else that you exchange. You make those vital connections that can help meet tangible needs efficiently and connect people that need to be connected, whether it's an organization or individuals. So that's one goal. The second goal is to simultaneously build a thriving network that's more relationship based and less transactional, thus growing social, experiential, intellectual, all those 8 forms of capital, while offering some protection against further loss of natural capital. Now, in the virtual, we may not see that as much. Maybe we will. It depends on what things are exchanged. But there is a direct tie between the offers and needs market and thinking more sustainably and regeneratively about our soil, our land, and our natural resources. Okay, or not resources, our natural capital. Sorry. So next steps. April 19th, this coming Saturday, get it on your calendar. There's a link. I'm sure Rob will share it again, but we have a link for the event so that you can register, get it on your calendar, share it with other people. During the offers and needs market, we'll do our best to estimate the value and the impact of the connection. This is something I want to start to practice. There are certain groups where they may share at the end, well, what do you feel in terms of capital shifted today? And people may say, well, my intellectual capital increased, or my social capital increased because I just now made this new connection, whatever it might be. We want to really start to track that, because the thing about the regen space and all this beautiful work that we do that's so feminine and so connected to nature is that, we're kind of like sitting in these echo chambers where we get what we're talking about, but people who are not a part of the movement don't get it. And I want to try to help bridge that a little bit and help them to see, no, there is actual tangible impact and value created from these events. And this is how we can do it together, because we all need this movement to be funded. So here we go. All right, so that's pretty much it. Yeah, I think we're on a pay what delights you, but I'm not sure. Rob, maybe you can share a bit more about that when I get done in a minute. And then spread the word and try your best to attend. It's this coming Saturday, April 19th, 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern. I think that's like 4 p.m. Central European time. And then experience the impact and share it with others. And thank you very much. This is team on the left, and then that other offers and needs market on the right. And you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Substack at the real Deborah A. That's my handle, and that's my email. So that's the end of the presentation. I'm just gonna give everyone a sec if they want to write my email down, and then we'll open it up for if there's any burning questions before we hop into breakouts. Hold on just a sec. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to pause for about 15 seconds. If there's any burning questions, go ahead and type a Y in the chat, and then you can come off mute.
I just want to say thank you for your presentation, Deborah, and looking forward to see you Saturday. Actually, you made me decide to come in this offering, and I'll try to make it. So I hope we'll see each other Saturday.
Yay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, and see you next time then.
Okay.
Okay. Ciao. Bye bye.
Bye. Thanks, Vasilka.
Thank you, Vasilka.
There's a question in the chat, Deborah.
Is anything and everything asked and offered in this format? Are there any parameters? Yeah, I mean, I've yet to hear anyone offer or express a need that seemed in any way inappropriate. Pretty much there are no rules on this. It's really what feels good for you, you know? In-person ones, it's appropriate to say, hey, I need a hug. That's a need I have. I'm offering hugs. I'm offering listening ear. So it can be it really could be as simple as that. We'll go through a little bit more, but I'll just briefly say, so it could be skills, um, passions, opportunities, like a job that you know of or a job that you need, that kind of thing. Resources of any kind, like maybe somewhere that someone can get free diapers, that kind of thing. Knowledge. These are all things that we can share either as offers or as needs. And by the way, any offer can be framed as a need. right? Because you could be like, well, hey, I'm offering, a free yoga class, or it could be, hey, I need people to come to my free yoga class. It could be the same, it's the same thing, basically. So, yeah, you can frame it either way. I hope, does that answer your question, Kenny? Yeah.
Yeah, I want to just drop in something there. It's a great question. I mean, HSC is, meant to be geared towards professionals and entrepreneurs and, working independent contractors. So I think a lot of our offers and needs might slant that way. But I also think that we've always sort of just had it open, and that's, been lovely as well, right? Because of course that speaks to last week's onboarding module about the whole person. We want to bring our whole person here. So yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
Deborah.
I might gently nudge on that because so I'm working with two people here locally. I just showed you a picture of them. And I think we haven't actually done any work together, but we have gone on a hike together. One of them is taking pictures of me and my daughter, and I've made them some food and we've met up, and we're actually building this like really solid foundation so that when any work comes in, I know I can call Nakia up and he'll be in a heartbeat able to, oh, let's go, because we've built the relationship. We're learning how to communicate, interact with each other. And I think that's even more important when we're virtual. So I wouldn't actually put any restrictions on what you put as an offer as a need, because if it's what's really you need right now, or if it's something you really genuinely want to offer, who cares whether it's work related to your profession or not? It's like it's how we build the relationships that actually create that fabric that helps us to be able to show up for each other in ways that are really authentic and powerful when needed in the professional angle as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I don't know if I mean, I was just saying that there's a slant of, just sort of naming the slant of this group, but also that within that, yeah, I agree with you totally. Yeah, I think it should be wide open. And I might, if there's time, I might tell my fish pillow story later, which is, I think a great example of that. So yeah, but thank you, Deborah.
Thank you. And I hope that didn't come across as abrasive, Rob, because I'm very good at that.
You're good.
Y'all
Yeah,
wanted
we're good.
y'all are you all okay with like is it okay if we take like 5 or 6 minutes for a breakout to just discuss this idea of capital, the 8 forms of capital and increasing them, or because I think it's a frame that takes a little bit of practice to get used to. In fact, I don't know if maybe I'll put up the slide again so we can all see it in a sec. I'll put up the slide
Hmm.
with the 8 forms of capital on there, and then we can just use that as a point of discussion. Or actually, you know what? I know what's better. I'll put it in the chat so everyone can access it because I know that can sometimes be annoying. Is that okay? Can we get into
I'm
breakouts
fine
of?
with breakout rooms, but also there's not very many of us. So
Okay.
I'm just wondering if we stay here or if you were thinking if we break out into 3 and 3, there's a little more time for each person to share.
hmm That's what I was thinking.
I'm happy both ways.
I don't know if I said capital or currency. I can never remember anything anymore. Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and put us into breakout rooms so we can just go ahead and take 6 minutes. And let's see, create. How do I make it 6 minutes? Do you remember? Do you know how, Rob? I haven't done this in a while. Let's see.
I have to. If I see it, yes. Yeah, I'm not the
Breakout rooms
host.
close automatically after 30 minutes. Let's change that to 6.
Yeah, you can. I think you can change that. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, it
All
might
right.
be good to know, if Justin and Christine are going to participate, because if they're not, it could end up that somebody's by themselves.
Thank you, Sai. It's a good question. Justin and Christine, are you up for breakout rooms? Justin is a yes.
Okay.
Christine, maybe
I think
not.
they're open now. They're open, right?
Christine said yes in the chat.
Oh, I'm just saying, but I can come on. Okay, cool.
Okay.
I think, are they open? Can you see it?
I don't see them open. I don't see
Uh,
a sign.
what's going on? Let me see. Assign to, oh, okay.
Or maybe I'm just not, people are either leaving the meeting or they're leaving,
Yeah,
or they're
you should
actually going to
be,
breakout rooms.
you should have something that says room 2 for you, Rob.
Let's see, join. Oh yeah, thanks. I think that was on me.
No worries. I'll join you there.
Did anybody, Kellyanne, you did not get a chance to speak in our breakout room. So, I mean, we can kind of continue on the conversation here from here, because I think at least in our breakout room, it was, just kind of getting flowing.
Well, that worked out because I don't have anything to say yet. I'm just sort of absorbing now. Is that okay?
Of course.
Thank you.
So would anyone like to share any reflections that you all came to in your group, the other group?
I don't want to speak for my group, but maybe I can use this. Maybe I'll share what I heard us talking about.
Please.
I heard like, yeah, when looking at like what opportunities we have to offer, what our needs are, the 8 forms of capital, there's this sense of natural overlapping. So I can do a service that maybe, like the example that was used was like side off of this, like I'm writing a blog, but if my blog process has a spiritual component or a cultural component to it, then maybe I notice these 8 capital types all kind of interweave together. And so maybe there's a greater chance for me to be able to serve my community or promote what I do by recognizing where those things kind of interweave. And also the idea of like these things may even branching down into like different, so knowledge or wisdom capital may actually branch out into more defined areas. I think this was Christine's idea. But that comes over time as you continue to do the work together as a community. You can kind of see, okay, this is a generic archetype of knowledge or of culture, but maybe it means something very specific in our instance. And I think my kind of reflection toward the end of our conversation was just like that. I felt like offers and needs already has an innate complexity to it. Like being able to name your needs or frame your offering is challenging, especially in a community that's still defining itself. And then the 8 forms of capital actually kind of added another level of complexity to it. It can maybe help to dial in, but also it can make it even harder to know where what you have to offer or what you need fits in. And so I was just noticing the complexity and trying to respond to some of the things around, like, just that level of progression of still kind of grounding. Who am I in the space? What is the space about? And then how do I, can I properly communicate what I'm looking for, what I'm trying to get out of being here? And I think that's still something I'm personally working on.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Totally get that. And love that share. Thank you so much. And anyone else like to share what they took from the breakout?
I can share. I just want to share that one piece that was talked about in our breakout room really was the idea of these forms of capital in a virtual community as opposed to like a land-based or location-based on the ground community. And I think a question that's asked, which is one, and just to name, right, this is one that I think about and work with and kind of all the time, right, which is how much can we affect in a virtual community? And at the end of the day, I do believe at the end of the day, really for like a full systems transformation, this model and framework really does need to get on the ground, and I need to get on the ground. And that's a lot of, I think, what we're doing here, or at least, that's how I'm an example, right? Is that, it's difficult for me, right? I'm just like using the skill sets that I have in this virtual world. How do I make a living? How do I make this transition, right? So if I say, okay, I want to get in on the ground community, how do I make that transition in my life? And having more resources and more support is one way to do that, and this is, so I really want to just, I want to honor the diversity and the different ways that, we can take a framework. And I wonder, how will work, and what it looks like, and what insights are made in virtual communities, and then what insights are and how things work in on the ground communities, and then how we can learn from each other. So, but I think it's a really great question to bring front of mind.
Yeah, I do have something to comment on this because I really want to honor the tension that was surfaced between that, like between the in-person and the online. And I will say, I actually have preferred virtual recently because I get to decide how I implement what I receive or how I use what I receive. So let me give you a really simple example. So my family had always lived in the gift economy and like very vocally and very publicly lived in the gift economy. And so we often stayed at people's homes when we traveled. We even stayed in people's homes when my dad was buying and selling our house and so forth. Um, and I didn't enjoy it. I don't enjoy living with other people. I learned this. I learned this through many different experiences in many different countries. I was like, ah, this is overrated. And then the flip side, like being able to access resources of housing when I did need housing, it was really through sharing with someone in need. And she was like, use this resource. It's a great resource. But I got to choose how I used it. And I think I've shared this before in the space. There's something to be said about I feel like in the previous era, we went out of balance towards the collective, and everyone had to kind of subdue themselves to make this greater thing happen. And I think where I'm always standing for is the individual is equally as important as the collective. And we need to make sure that the individual isn't suffering and suppressing themselves for the sake of the greater good, that they too are able to thrive in a way that feels good for them. Because to me, that is for the sake of the greater good. And so um, I think as we're moving from one era to the next, Charles Eisenstein calls it the space between stories. There is something to be said for the virtual giving us the space to kind of like choose what we hop into. Whereas when we're in person, it's like right there in your face. There's really no easing into it. So that's something that I don't know. I wanted to surface that because I really do honor and respect and understand the tension between like, yeah, I want to connect with people, but I can't because we're not in person. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing because sometimes it gives us more time and energy, like opportunity to not be like just like hopping into an environment or a situation where we haven't really learned exactly what we need yet to really negotiate healthy boundaries for everybody involved. Is it enough to connect to my financial needs to opportunities, or is that too transactional for this kind of economic or community model? Hmm.
I mean, I
Well,
can speak to that, but I don't, yeah, I think maybe I want to let other people talk to it because it's such a great question. Yeah, and Deborah, sorry.
yes, I agree with Rob. Go ahead.
I would say that it's not too transactional. I think that finances are real in the way that most of us operate in our lives. And if the need is, I need to make X amount of money this month, put it forward. Maybe somebody here will have the job for you, right? Please. I'm down. I think I put already in my member profile something about that. Like I need to double my income this year. Yeah, let's do it. Why not? So that's my response.
Yeah, I mean, very quickly, I to me, this is it's an alternative economy and it's a hybrid economy, and it includes all 8 forms of capital. So and complementary, I think, is better, even better than alternative, right? It's both, but complementary economy, meaning it's meant to work, alongside our current economy. And actually the design of the whole thing and how it is self-sustaining requires some fiat money coming in. So yeah, I think financial needs is a big need, right? I mean, for probably a lot of people, that might be the number one need is like, hey, I need to make money. And so then the beauty of it and what I love is like, oh, okay, great. Well, I might not have like money I can just give you, but there's ways to facilitate that. It's like, okay, how do I make money? Well, all right, I learn something new. I learn a skill. I have a mentor. I get a referral. Right? There's all these other avenues. So
I just want to jump in again and say that just occurred to me that I could also look at all my expenses, the places where I think I need my money to go. And I could say like, well, how could some of this be met without the money? Then I wouldn't need to say I need X this month. I would say I need X this month and I need these things covered. So maybe there are other ways that someone can help me meet that thing, and I can then offer them in a barter, in an exchange, in a what all we have going on HSC and in my local circles. I am quite active, like physically, locally. So that was an interesting thought exercise that I could actually, put on a spreadsheet, maybe.
I think the other thing that this starts to do is like, and you're doing there, Sia, is it? Um, we're well served when we think about when we just think about capital and our own wealth more holistically. And there is a lot more abundance than we realize in our lives, usually. In this country, we're really terrible about asking for help. This individualism is kind of almost like a disease here. But the generosity of these systems, and social systems and cultural systems and natural systems, it's kind of all around us, and we can avail ourselves to that much more effectively than we do. And in doing that, it begins to, I think, almost calm the nervous system in a way that we're often really dysregulated around our financial stress. Well, and I don't want to make light of that. It's real, but we're also trained to think that it can only be solved one way. And that's just not true. In fact, that's never been true, and it's still not true in most parts of the world. And so the framework, and I think just the coming together and the being with people who are also thinking holistically is all a part of that wealth building. I see that.
yeah, thank you, Kenny.
I guess I could add something. Like I feel an interesting tension of like, okay, so if I offer something and I get a reward for that, like say in the traditional economy, sometimes that can feel imbalanced, right? Like that can feel, okay, I did get what I need in return for what I offered. But say like I dig deep into my personal reservoir of gifts and capacities, and I'm like, okay, I've got all of these offerings here. How do you know that you're going to be like rewarded in the same way that on the level that you're giving?
I can't tell if that's a rhetorical question, Christine, so I'm sitting with you here.
Um, I don't know, I'm just putting it out there. And because, like, say I have spiritual capital or I have other types of capital, like social capital, that has taken me like 10 years to build up. And then I go and offer that to someone, and they're like, oh, great, thanks a lot. See you later. And it's like, oh, is that really an exchange? I think that it's something like that I'm aware of just in multiple settings of where is that healthy flow of connection and reciprocity, especially for people who are emerging out of the old paradigm and not necessarily thinking accordingly to this new way of acting.
Hmm.
Justin, you got something for me?
I was thinking about like when I hold like ceremonial or medicine space, um, you know, I have operation cost. It costs money to have a space or to buy the candles or to get the snacks for afterwards or whatever, all the different things, right? I have these operational expenses, so I know that. And also there is I never actually know fully what the person's going to require until we're in the journey itself, right? And so it's a little bit of thing where I have to, but one of the things I learned about from like, sitting and guiding people is like my boundaries are the most important thing that offers safety and support and structure for them, while also kind of securing and holding my value in a good way, right? So they may not have any sense how to honor or value what they're going to go through. It also, if it's a transformational experience, it may take days or weeks or months for them to integrate and go, wow, that really, like all that growth and development is going to happen over time. So they also can't necessarily value that. And it's hard for me to value that too. And so part of it is kind of the boundary setting inside myself first. So if I know, I need this much to operate this thing, and also I feel the value is here, there's a lot of chances to say, very good no's until I find my right yeses and trust that person is going to have their needs met someplace else. But I got to have that kind of clarity in me a little bit around my value and my boundaries. But also, if I have a clear boundary, I can also adjust that thing and hold that through the lens of learning. So if I decide I'm going to charge half of what I normally charge, and this is the most intense experience I've ever had before, and then I feel afterwards like I've been taken advantage of, it's not that person who took advantage of me, anything like that, right? I've now learned, you know what? I had a price set. That price had a meaning, and I don't want to ever do that in that same way again. How am I going to adjust it next time? So I think about just right boundaries as it's not an answer to your question, but it's like I found that boundaries are important. I think that recognizing operational costs versus like the value of the experience and also the value I have of myself being different things. And then also kind of, by setting these things, I can then negotiate with the person, but also kind of with myself to make sure that I'm always in that context of, oh, this is my learning, this is my development. And it's not this, this exchange isn't everything. Does that make sense? Like, I can really hold that in a right scope too. Those are just some thoughts around the subject, I think.
Yeah, it's really relevant. And I think also, like, what if there's not a financial capital component to it? What if we're going like crossways around the circle, like different types of capital to capital? Because I know, like, say in traditional cultures, if you approach an elder, like you make an offering straight away, like you start on that foot, like you don't think about what it's worth at the end and then pay them some amount. It's like you always start with an offer, and then you may need to offer more if they have offered you something of like extreme value for your path. So I don't know if that's a practice that many people are aligned with either, like really valuing what someone does give you. Would you then go and pay them more or give them more just because the actual true value is there? I don't think that's a habit that many people would really think about.
Hmm. Yeah, I like that. I just want to speak to it because it's, Justin is here, right? And it's an example, right? So we created this value exchange, right, for, my services, and Justin, as you know, well, Christine helped with the presentation and the launch parties and all of that. And, it was non-monetary, right? But Justin was like, he did such an amazing job and was like, put so much energy and effort into it. At the end, I was just like, there's no, like, I was like, I have to give you at least some fiat money, right? Just because that's, and if I didn't, it's not like that was wrong, but I do think that happens. I also think that there's, hopefully we have these contribution token mechanisms, and some of that is to retroactively, like somebody might just, I don't know, say hi to me or whatever, or say a nice word. And like, a week later, I might just be like, that saved my life, and so now I'm going to send this person, 100 tokens. And so yeah. I think that part of what I'm looking forward to is actually like playing in those questions you're asking about, Christine, and doing that in different ways. And this needs and offerings, is a more informal way. It feels like, yeah, to be saying, okay, how are we doing this, and where are my boundaries, and in retrospect, what would what should I have paid this person, or what would the exchange be, and and then there's the vouchers, right, which is much more in a sort of structured kind of way. Mm.
I actually think this is a really good point about this. If it's financial, is it transactional, or is it too, he phrased it too transactional? And I want to give two short stories to help with that framing, because one was I used to bank with Wells Fargo, and they were charging me all these fees because I didn't have the minimum balance in the account. Surprise, surprise. So I was like, can I get these fees back? Because like clearly you all see I'm like, beyond broke. They're like, okay, we'll give you half the fees back. That's what the algorithm decided, and we can't change what the algorithm decides about how much of these fees we give you back. So it ended up being like 20 bucks that I didn't get back. And I was like, man, I really needed it because I had this big bill that was due. And I was literally scraping all the money in all the piggy banks in the house trying to get this money together. And I got to the bank, and I'm there with my jar of coins. No jokes, like real story here. Here with this giant jar of coins that I've counted, and I'm like, I don't know how much money it was. And I'm trying to give it to the teller. The teller's, like rolling their eyes, like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I have time for you because we have all these customers. And this lady walks by and drops a note in the jar. And I didn't even recognize or realize what she did. She was almost out the bank before I realized what she had done. And guess how much the amount was? It was the $20. And so I always come back to this whole idea of the universal bank account. And not saying that anyone should follow my decision-making process. We all have our own unique process for making decisions. But there is something to be said that when we actually are operating holistically, we always get what we need. It just may not come from the person that we gave to, or from the source that we wanted it from, or it's gonna show up, but we don't know where from, right? And we have also, I maybe never put $20 in someone's jar, but I know I have at times helped someone out who was a stranger to me, but who benefited from it. As another simple example of that was my daughter. She was being attacked, and people saw, and they called the police. And the police came and took care of her. I don't know who those people are. I can't even thank them, but the amount of value that they've added to our lives is immeasurable. There's no dollar amount for what those strangers did for me and my daughter. And on the flip side, in an offers and needs market with another facilitator, it wasn't in the market itself, but afterwards we formed a friendship. We were doing a co-working space. And I was just like, hey, you're really good at this grant stuff. Where would you start with this thing? And she gave me some resources. And I came back to her and I was like, what was that name again? And she told me, and I went and I looked and I found a resource that ended up also being a part of what greatly now increased the quality of life for me and my child. Again, it was some money, but it wasn't even, she didn't pay me anything, but it came through another source. But because of the way that it came through, my life is like, I can't put a dollar amount on the value that her connecting me to that resource gave me that I would never have found on my own, because it wasn't like something you could just like Google and find easy. It was like hard to find, but her and her expertise was able to share that with me. So I just give these examples to share how we can think about things when we really are stepping back and looking at things holistically. There is really no limit to how we can receive and exchange value. And a lot of times it may be way more than anything that we were originally thinking we said we needed.
I'd love to chime in briefly. There have been times where I am giving out a lot, or I'm supporting my brother with something, and I'm doing this other thing for this person. And I naturally often want to say yes to many unpaid types of offering, of genuine skill that I have, whether it's emotional or administrative, or I don't know, like my brother doesn't know how to read a letter from the insurance company. I am really good at that, right? It's not difficult for me, but it is my time and attention. And there have been times when it's like everything out, like I feel like my energy is, the energy is just going in one direction instead of circling back and being reciprocal. And I have disentangled it from like those exact people need to refill my cup, but I need my cup to be refilled. I need it to circulate somewhere, somehow, enough. And that's one piece. And boundaries, totally love boundary work. Love it. Embodied boundary work, practicing the language we need to share with someone, practicing the boundary that needs to be like really rigid and firm, practicing the softer ones, practicing how to do the firm ones with a lot of love, like just so much. And the second thing I wanted to say, like, so that's the need for the circulating to happen somehow, somewhere, from and to. And the second thing is I think part of the reason I end up doing so much that's not paid or not paid directly is the payback for me in my sense of purpose, in my sense of like, I am giving what one is often easy for me to give, what I do well with, or I'm learning something as I go that's enlivening for me. So my sense of vitality grows through that giving. And that I can't put a dollar amount on. So those are some things that I've worked with in thinking about what happens when the person might not even notice what I've given them and not acknowledge it directly, or they do acknowledge it, but it feels insufficient. Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder if that's like a coping mechanism, like coming out of our past cultural milieu, like because yeah, like the scarcity factor is somewhat real, right? Like, I mean, I don't want to project my thoughts onto everyone else, but there's different forms of scarcity, and there's different ways of where people don't get their needs met, like in that circle where there is an imbalance of like where all the attention and focus and rewards end up. And so I don't know, I think there might be a place in between, like going with the old and then just trusting and then hoping and, you know, wishing. And I feel like there must be some structural pieces that we can build, or practices where we sort of move in from those edges and actually find a place that works. I mean, I'm so sorry, I don't mean to put that on your story, but that's just something I've felt like when I've seen that type of like.
Yeah, I don't think my
Trust.
story lines up with yours. So thank you, Kid, for like owning scarcity is not a part of what I would choose to put in there. Yeah.
Yeah, but even like say like helping someone and then just trusting that someone's going to help me, like I don't know if that is enough either. Like I don't think that's enough. Like in my story, like I think if I'm helping someone, are they not grateful? Like is there not actual like a ripple effect from what I've offered them? And if there's not, then that's like dead energy in a way. That's what I was like pointing more to rather than the scarcity question.
I have to like double down on you, Christine. Well, that's not double down, but like can I share what's coming up for me in response to you? Is that okay? I'm just kind of space for it either, so I'm not sure if it's like this is the right moment. But is it okay?
I don't know. Depends what you have to say, I guess. Yeah.
I wondered if there's something very specific that you have in mind, like a very specific experience that maybe you're like going through, or that you've experienced around this, that maybe is alive. And I wondered if it made sense to actually bring out maybe what your need is, or if there's a need underlying the questions that maybe we could help to collectively brainstorm or try to help resolve in the space today. That may not be the right use of the space. I'm not 100% sure it's not my space to try to facilitate or coordinate in that way, but I noticed that there was something going on and it felt generalized, but also very specific. So it felt very true that it was like a universal possibility, but also it felt very close to you. And I just wanted to also make room for that because maybe we can be there's an opportunity for us maybe to also help and you support you with whatever that need may be if it's tied to something that you're bringing up.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a specific personal need to do that, but it's more like the balance of the heart space, I think, is somewhere where it's easy to get out of balance as well. Like being a nurturer, being a carer, generally. Yeah, and it's different with children than with like other adults. I think there is a big difference there. And so I just honestly, I think in summary, I think it is something we're unlearning is like, well, we could unlearn if we wanted to. But in the meantime, people will still probably be using their same habits. So I don't know. Sorry, maybe I'm like looking on the shadow side of it today, but maybe that's just where my head is at of looking at that.
If I could throw one quick thing in, it also sounds like it's a different application, right? So there's all of the examples I gave you were just one-off instances where like someone gave me a resource, that was it. Or someone gave me $20, or that was it. Someone called the police, that was it. Which is different from like my mom or somebody I've got to work with every single day. Where if I'm really feeling very collapsed in my own energy, that makes for a lot of misery because I'm never really like, it's not a healthy exchange in whatever way it is. So maybe that's the difference is like, I trust that I'm cared for overall. But part of me being cared for is also caring for myself and knowing when, I'm interacting with someone on a regular basis that that relationship is has a pattern that isn't healthy for me. I don't know, does that help to like, kind of make the distinction between like overall trust and then like the actual holding of healthy boundaries and saying, "Hey, like you know, and it's not even holding of healthy boundaries, it's honoring the boundaries. Because our body tells us when we've done too much or we've given too much and we haven't been nourished enough, regardless of where it comes from. Does that help or support what you're saying, your point, Christine?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I guess because we are looking at it here from a practice and a tool-based setting, that we are trying to build things that somewhat like buoy that up or support a positive outcome in that way. So that's why I guess I'm thinking along those lines.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's because what you're speaking to, I think, Christine, right, is a real thing. And I think part of, yeah, I agree. Part of what we're trying to do here is a retraining, and also shining light on all of these energies and different dynamics, and seeing how we can, right, collectively move in a direction that we want, right? Because I mean, from a spiritual standpoint, right, I trust that I'll be taken care of, which takes takes a lot of work also, as well, as far as faith and surrender. From a societal or from a systemic standpoint, I do not trust that I'm going to be taken care of. Absolutely not. So, and that I can't do what I want, which is really like to get give as much as I want in the ways that I want. So how do we shift that? And I think we can. And I'm happy to talk more. I mean, I'm looking at the time. I know we scheduled 90 minutes. I don't know if we want to take a little time and look at the app, look at the member portal, and because I think what we're talking about here is wonderful and so important. And right in this, the member portal and HSC is just, it's a framework to try and facilitate, I think what we're talking about here. So, yeah. But
Thank
before
you
we
very
do
much,
that,
everyone. I just want to say thank you for the time and the space to share my passion for the offers and needs market, and hope to see you all, some of you all, on Saturday.
Yeah, thank you, Deborah. Absolutely. It's so great to have your voice in here and your experience and wisdom around this. Yeah, so much appreciated. Yeah, before we go into the I'm just reading what Sai is saying. Yeah, well, but before I just jump into the the member portal and all of that, I wanted to open up. Yeah, are there any more thoughts or responses that want to come in?
I guess I'm curious if Kenny has anything to offer because he hasn't spoken too much. Yeah.
Great.
Well, thanks for the invitation. This is my very first time in this with this group in this space, and so I'm a little disoriented. And I've just been thinking about the unlearning that you spoke about, Christine, and the retraining that Rob just mentioned. And I think I know what you're referring to. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's about getting away from this kind of scarcity that we're conditioned to believe is all around us, and stepping into the fullness of just the wealth that we have as people and communities, which is not, as Rob just said, just not what we're taught by the system. So if I've got that much right, then I'm good for today.
Great.
Yeah, that's very well said. That sounds in alignment to me with how I would say it.
Cool.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, it's definitely a continue, it's a relearning and retraining for all of us, and how we're doing that. And Mr. Justin, you have your hand up, please.
And Kenny, I would just add that I think what Rob's going to show next, and also what Deborah presented, were like two ways by which we have spaces of practicing new ways of transacting or relating around economics and money and exchange and learning. And so I think he's going to show a technical direction. And I think Deborah was showing the kind of place-based or social. It can be digital too, obviously, but kind of event-based. And then Rob's going to show more of a technical way. But I think there are two places to practice and learn.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, what a great point, Justin. Yeah, I think that there's just different ways to facilitate this retraining and this relearning, and like reconfiguring of how our economic systems operate, really. And this is needs and offerings. It's basically coming down to to me the core piece, and this is something that I think was seen and revealed as HSC was being co-created, is that it really does start with your needs. It starts with our needs. That's what I've seen over and over again. That's why that's one reason why this is to me so powerful. Even more like, yeah, I know that's why I wore my yin yang shirt today, because the needs and offerings, right, is that there's just because I'm like, no, really, it's the needs, and I'm like, oh, but the offering is so this is really I think the truth of it. But I like say that for this group, right, for for professionals or entrepreneurs or independent contractors, or a lot of people, right? We do spend a lot of time honing our offerings. What are my offerings, right? And anybody, right? Because my offerings is what I sell, but a lot less time thinking about, well, what are my needs? What do I really need? We may be thinking about that, and so I'm kind of jumping into a little bit of like what the practice is, and then the tool to facilitate that. But like, I want to just share. I know we need a better way of sharing these, but it's an MVP version. I've just put a PDF into the chat, so if you're able to download that, if you want, it's just a handout. A handout with some ideas about these concepts. And so I think, speaking to Justin's point, right, like all of this, there's just different ways of retraining. There's talking about it in the group like this. There's education. There's different practices. So that just has some writings about it. And this the process that we're talking about here. So one of the things in there is trying to be as specific as we can with our needs and offerings. Again, it's a little easier to do that with our offerings because we sometimes think about those more and hone those more, but still it applies to them, right? So my need, like I might be coming in and my need is I need to earn more money. Right. And that's so it's true. So it's not saying that's not valid, or I need more clients, or I need more time. So that's a great place to start, I think. If you can't, if there's nothing like specific coming in, right, there could just be like, oh, okay, very specific ideas, but that can be a great place to start. And so then it's the idea of, okay, well, how can what can I actually, ask for? How can I get help facilitating those, those larger scale needs. So if I, need more clients, okay, then, how do I facilitate that? Do I need help with marketing? Do I need help with, networking and referrals, et cetera? So that's one piece to talk about. I'm going to just share my screen, and we can just look at it in the member portal. So just to say, I'm going to be doing work on this member portal this weekend. I think that there's plenty more that this is the MVP version, so there's plenty more that wants to happen, but I'll just go through it quickly. So, at this point, right, if you, right, here's the members. If you want to get to the needs and offerings, it's the first one in the exchange tab. So needs and offerings, contributions module is going to be next week. And then the last one is vouchers. So needs and offerings, just to frame it, I do think about needs and offerings within this hybrid community as more this informal exchange. And the vouchers is more of like a formal, exchange, like goods on a shelf. So the needs and offerings fairly straightforward. You click here and you can see the list of all the offerings. You click here, you see the list of the needs. And if you're in the member portal, you click here and you see yours. If you want to create a need and offering, you just click, it should be accessible, here. All of this should also be accessible in your member profile. So just kind of running through this quick, but in your member profile, this is where you kind of edit everything and you have your control panel. So here's my needs and offerings. I can add them there. Any of your needs and offerings, you can always edit at any time. So come back to exchange. Yeah, so if you want to add a new one, the form is fairly straightforward. Is it a need or offering? The title, the description. So the exchange type, yeah, I think that there are different ways, and if anybody, as we go along, if there's any feedback, oh, we need another exchange type, or we should reword this exchange type, just let us know. But I think that there's different ways. I mean, mine are usually in this sense, open to explore, but sometimes actually there was a need where I'm like, where's this need? I have this need for like somebody to help, like a real developer, and I'm willing to pay. So, I put that, but a lot of them, I put as open to explore. So I'm glad we went over the 8 types of capital. This is part of the retraining, I think, and there's some more materials that are almost written on this. We get it because we went over it, but this is like part of the retraining, is basically saying like, oh, okay, like where do I fit this, and how can I start thinking about, capital differently? I don't know if there's too many of these categories. Open to feedback, but the idea of these value exchange types, right? Is it services? Is it referrals and connections, health and wellness support, etc.? The idea behind those comes here with the filtering and the filters and searches. So you can filter by, the form of capital, and also these value exchange types, because as you can see right now, the platform just got launched. There's a fairly small list. What we're hoping, especially if we, if it works like we want it to work out, and we're interoperable and exchanging needs and offerings with other communities and other networks. Yeah, hopefully there's hundreds of these, thousands of these. So we need a way to search and filter them. So that's the idea of why there's these different parameters here that we ask about. So that way, sure, I can browse through, but if I'm just like, I need health and wellness support, or I want to find somebody to cross promote with, I just filter on that, and I'm going to have an easier time finding what I need. And as far as how to, contact somebody, again, I need to make, this is not perfect, the UI. So when you're in somebody's need, you can always quickly just go to their profile, so that way you can like read more about them. You can contact the member directly. We're going to have an email function within here, but right now this, you just send an email from your app, or you can send this quick connect email, which actually is kind of fun. Oh, whoops. I think I just sent it. Yeah, all right. And the last, the thing that we have on here are comments. So, you can make, Saya, I think I know someone. So you can comment here, Saya can comment back. We can follow the threads on these. And it's fairly simple. I mean, I think that's, kind of it for now. I'll tell you what's in the pipeline. Definitely what the next thing is major thing that's in the pipeline for needs and offerings is we want to have a be able to have like a log of exchanges that happen. So we want to be able to track this and track that value that we're talking about. So I think we can also decide as a group how we want to do that. The idea now is just to be able to have it be an optional way. So when people have an exchange, they can write something about it. They can write appreciation for the person, and that can be tracked via each person's exchange. And honestly, that one I don't have quite as figured out as I do a lot of the other things. And the other piece here, right, is with contributions, you can send community tokens to other people. So if you have, an exchange, and again, like you thought, 2 days later, you were like, that was really amazing, then I can send, tokens to someone. So if I'm just, glad that Saya showed up, I'll send her a token. I think I'll just stop there. And I can open it up to questions. I know, so basically this meeting is scheduled for 90 minutes. And so that's going to be done in about 3 minutes. But we do always have an extra half hour for usually at regular meetings. We have an extra half hour for co-working at these modules. A lot of times folks have just wanted to, stay longer and kind of discuss things more or ask any questions. So definitely open to probably be here for another half hour. But there's no obligation to stay. The formal part is, over in 2 minutes. So with that, I want to thank everybody so much for coming. Really appreciate you being here and the participation and us just kind of continuing to discover this together. So I'd love to open it up if there's any questions here, or if anybody does need to leave at the half hour point, then then a little checkout would be great as well.
I'm gonna step away. I'm gonna try to come on Saturday morning. That's early for me here on the West Coast, but can't sleep in anymore anyway. I'm too old. It was wonderful to meet all of you. Thank you. See you again.
Thank you, Kenny. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Hi.
thank you, Kenny.
Take care.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
thanks.
sign off as well. So thank you so much. It was an honor and good to see everyone, and nice to meet you, Kellyanne and Justin. And I'll hopefully see you Saturday.
Yeah. Thanks, Deborah.
I'm gonna head out too. I really appreciate you guys letting me just kind of participate by listening. I'm trying to grasp the whole concept and identify how to shift gears, because this is very new to me. So thank you.
Is any how are you taking it in? I'm just curious.
Yeah, no,
Because
it's
I
coming
know
in.
this is more new. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, no, piece by piece. It's just everything's different. So yeah, I'm trying to grasp the concept, identify with how I can be participant. I'm not really sure how to get in yet. So I don't know. That's where I'm at.
Perfect. You said everything is different. To me, I'm like, yes. Even if that's, that's kind of music to my ears, right? If that's, the general idea that you're taking in. So yeah, thank you, Kellyanne. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
I have a need that is to read a really short poem out loud that I'm reading at a memorial service on Saturday as practice, like reading it with an audience. So
Mhm.
I'm looking for a few opportunities this week to do that. If this is a moment, that's awesome. If anyone wants to arrange a different moment for that, that's super helpful for me. Also, this whole meeting has been really great, so I'm happy to be here.
My vote is I'm okay meeting that need at this meeting now. Or, you know, sometime in this meeting.
I guess I came in with the impression, or maybe like within the first 10 minutes, that we were going to actually like do some of that today, like talk about what we need and what we offer. But it was a little more like zoomed out to like the whole concept of the market, which is great too. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and we could do that as well if we want if anybody did want to stick around, we could talk about, you know, our needs and offers. I think that is a piece that will, you know, to me, I'm hoping is part of the ongoing, you know, way of participating in HSC, right? And is like part of part of our meetings, maybe not every meeting, but part of our meetings, because it feels like needs and offerings is such an active process, an interactive process. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm open to hearing Saya's share her reading. And also like it is a very interesting topic. And I feel like my type of thinking is that I want to go into all the gnarly bits and just like picking them apart and look at like what we can do to build something really better. So I don't know, maybe today is not the right time for that. Maybe we do have like another 15 minutes after this. Like after Saya shared that we could do that, because I feel like we're all very intuitive and like empathic people. So it'd be interesting to really consider like some deep conversation on that. Or we could do that another time. So yeah.
Totally. I could talk about these things for hours in general. I'm also on puppy time right now. That's why I kept standing up and moving around. And there will probably shortly be a time where his needs are dominant to my needs to be in a very interesting and stimulating conversation. So.
If he's peeing on your floor, yeah, that's like pretty immediate.
Exactly. And I'm wondering how close we are to that moment.
Gotcha.
That all sounds good to me. Yeah, what you said, Christine, gnarly stuff, Saya's poem. How long is your poem? I mean, it's not like an epic poem. That's
No, it's this long. It would literally take like 1.5 minutes if I go really slow.
yeah,
Probably
go
less
slow. I mean,
than that.
I think just
So.
yeah, go for it. Everybody seemed okay.
Yeah. I'll just go through it. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
memorial
wait,
service.
I'm gonna set the scene. We're at wait, where are we? At a memorial?
We're at the UU Church in Pittsfield. It's full
Okay.
of people.
All right.
Could
Solid.
be
They're all
100 or
upset
200
and
people that I'm standing in front of. Yeah. To read this
All right.
poem written by my friend who died a year ago. Well, it will be a year ago to the day, Saturday. Okay. It's called Bring Me to the Place. Written October 2011 by Elisa Blanchard. Bring me to the place where darkness enfolds in the cold abyss of shadow. Allow me to swim in the lake where my feet don't touch bottom. Let me know the heat of the blazing fires and embers burning deeply, ready to be my darkest shadow, deepest lake, hottest fire, where I stand completely unsure and nothing holds me up. Because now I know I will always return stronger than before. Thank you for being my second audience.
She wrote that. Was she suffering at the time, or what was going on?
She wrote this many years ago before her diagnosis. So it's like we're now 6 years post her diagnosis, and that was 2011. So that precedes it by quite a lot,
Mhm.
if I'm doing my math correctly. Yeah. She wrote a lot throughout her time. Yeah.
Can I offer a perspective?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Cool.
Please.
I know that when you're in the moment too, you're gonna like probably be so deep in the feelings or the experience too that it's gonna be really raw. And also I wanted to, with those words are so raw, I really wanted to encourage you to allow yourself to be in that place whenever, as you, even as you're practicing, like the practice also too of like really being with her and being in that moment for her and allowing the depth of that kind of, I felt like pain and the search and the looking for and the navigating to all kind of really come through, because they are very evocative words. And sometimes when I'm going to read a poem or a speech, I'll go through and I'll intentionally mark off pauses or places where I want to have a breath, or I'll triple underline some words so I hit those little crescendos just right, so that it really also kind of conveys the meaning that you want it to convey based on what you're feeling too, if that makes sense. So not to like, but it's a really beautiful poem. I think it's a really beautiful offering. I just want to offer that to you as well, just as you're kind of going through it and encouraging you. I think it's, yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah. That's cool.
I have actually found death to be like a good guide for like needs and offerings.
The needs and offerings.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not by accident that I'm a death doula. So, you know.
Mm.
Thanks.
It puts
It's
a lot
good
into perspective.
teacher of much. Yeah. Can you say more though about how it needs and offerings?
I just think that it puts a lot into perspective, and it sort of helps keep us more well-rounded as people. I think death, like rather than being so, in any one direction, because it's just a great leveler. Like it's a very grounding force. So, yeah.
All right, I'm to the level of puppy tries to eat the rug. So I think I might have.
No worries.
I think I gotta go. Thank you all for listening. Love to pick it up whenever the next opportunity is. Not the poem thing, but the topic of the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Well, tomorrow or next week.
Next week. Yeah, next week.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Saya.
Goodbye.
Yeah, Christine, did you have any ideas as far as the gnarly bits that you wanted to check in on?
It really depends, like what other people have like the energy for. Like Justin's here, and yourself, I guess. So
You telling me to leave, Christine? Is what I heard. I heard, Justin, get out. We don't want your ass here.
you're too honest, Justin. You're too real. That's good. No, I think that's that to me, that's inspiring.
Yeah. Well, Justin leaves, then we're just going to turn the recording off and turn it into an operations meeting for the next 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, that's how what'll happen.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I'm up for, I mean, yeah, I should, you know, I should leave the meeting at the top of the hour, but for 20 minutes, I'm up for whatever. And actually, I think I like talking about gnarly bits. So, oh yeah, I'm totally up for that.
Yeah.
Even the lighting, you know, has
Mm.
turned into more of a very moody lighting for me to talk about gnarly bits.
It's like harsh shadows and bright.
Yeah, it's harsh. Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm ready for the I almost turned me into a yin yang, right?
Mm.
My shadow side.
I appreciate that shirt today. It's good. You've got a good collection of shirts for various needs, like HSC themes.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to keep stocked with the shirts with the right message, you know.
Mm. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, so
I could go in a few different directions with it. So I guess is there anything immediately coming to mind from you guys?
I'm interested in what you're, you know, in thoughts that you have. I mean, I've been sort of like thinking about this and, you know, prepping for it for a couple hours before. So there's, you know,
Yeah.
writing social posts and all that. So, yeah, so I'm actually interested in yeah, what's coming up for other people.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'll just give a little bit and you can see what resonates. I feel like there's like these big layers of society where we don't have access to hard capital, right? So I think that, I don't know, I guess I'm a little bit skeptical that we sort of like do the best we can and we try to meet each other's needs on those levels. But yet we're still looking for something outside of ourselves to then fill us up, like on that actual level of abundance. So I guess I'm just imagining people working to meet each other's needs, like in this beautiful community way, but then still somehow lacking like the real driving force in our world, which like we always seem to capitulate to, which is like hard power. So that's something that I like is just in the back of my mind. And then more on a personal note, I feel that some of the things that I personally do in reality are like a very long, like they operate on long time scales. So I might, and a lot of it is through like my presence and interaction with people. It's not necessarily what I'm doing. Like I guess I am a bit of a catalyst in a lot of ways, whether that's emotional, spiritual, like mental. And so by the time the results show up, usually like things have moved on quite far. And it's difficult to even say that I actually was the person who did that thing. Or like, and because people are like more likely to reward those around them who like where it's obvious on where there was things happening. It's like, okay, well, so yeah, that's like a personal challenge that I have on that level.
Yeah. Can I? Yeah, I want to speak to that because well, to both things, but I want to speak to that and like yeah, because I get it, and I think that right because we've been working together now, Christine, for a year, right? And
Yeah.
not only that, but what we are doing is we are again that's part of this, one of these main ideas here is bringing the intangible into, into sight, bringing the invisible into, a visibility or awareness. So these are things that we've talked about, right? These are things that you're bringing this up now, but these are things that have been brought up before, right? Like it's in the field. And so that's part of our, for me, the collective retraining is saying, okay, what kind of value is Christine bringing that's not in this, kind of way that's obvious in the structure of our, our current world and our current economic system. So so I like that, right? So when I'm working with people now, I mean, obviously I'm in this, retraining, very deeply, but that's still the idea, right? Like when I'm working with people, I'm thinking on these levels, and I'm, even somebody, right? Like this is, just over the last, whatever, half a year, right? I'm really coming into more focus of like, oh, somebody's, like Bart is an example of this. Somebody's, skill and gift is weaving. And a lot of times these weavers are like fairly invisible. They do all this, weaving that creates all this value, but it's like, where, did you like notice them, or did they get, like a value exchange for that? And so, like Catalyst is another one, right? And so you're coming in, you told me that, I think when we first started working together, right? So I also like the fact that, right, you're naming these, that can be another retraining, is to say, hey, these are some of these places that I know, right? Like I have these intangible gifts and abilities too, that I know because I've, learned and I've studied. But how can we name those more? Yeah, and actually have those folks be recipients of contributions that of compensation or exchange or energy that they might not. So yeah.
Yeah, it really is a huge paradigm. It is a true paradigm shift. And so, because like say if I'm writing an email, or if I'm crafting a blog post, or I'm creating Canva things or whatever, like these are all, you can see like some output. But often what you don't see is the emotional work, like the emotional labor, or like the shifting, right? If we're competent at shifting energy, like the amount of shift that can go into one output can be a lot greater. If someone is like adept at that skill. And so yeah, like I think what I'm just pointing to is that my experience of doing work is just as valid as like the output of doing the work, or like your experience of receiving the work, I think, or someone's experience of receiving that work. Because if I'm experiencing like emotional alchemy and other types of engagement with the non-physical world by doing a job for someone, like, is that recognized, or can it ever be recognized? I would hope so. Justin.
Yeah, I would hope so. And I just want to sort of say, like, as we're like building this thing, yeah, I would appreciate, everybody, myself, and you, Christine, like thinking about how we can bring that in, how we can bring that more into focus. And yeah, because it's, I don't have all the answers for it, but but we do have this kind of plaything the sandbox.
Yeah.
That we can bring whatever toys in we want. Yeah. Justin.
I'm gonna say the wrong thing, but hopefully I say it in the right way. Because I think I can already feel like I'm like, nah, Justin, shut up. Get off the phone call. But I'm gonna try anyways, because I feel, you're not saying this at all, Christine, and I imagine I have no idea what I'm talking about. But also I wondered this thing, right? Well, and it's probably not, it could be appropriate for the recording, I don't actually know, but it's like, for the last year, like, an example that comes to my mind as I listen to you is like, for the last year, you've been catalyzing for HSC. And technically, HSC hasn't been profitable or revenue generating, so you haven't really gotten paid for it. So there has been no financial exchange technically. And you've done a lot of work, from like writing blogs to building documents, to doing not only that, but also holding the role of almost co-founder with Rob for almost a year, right? So there's a lot of emotional turmoil and challenge and development that's required to be able to do that very well. And now maybe you're at a place after a year going like, well, and now there's a whole nother journey ahead of us. Holy crap, right? And there's not really a proper reciprocal, like, how do I have what I have done and where I have gotten to valued and rewarded by an organization that we've been kind of forming, but also existed before I was here, and also maybe will exist beyond my time. And where is that like represented or accounted for in a way that's going to be meaningful for me, but also recognizes maybe some differences or changes that may come up in my journey? You're not seeing those things at all, but I just felt that like this kind of possible real world context of this moment in time and space, and what you were sharing, and just that's how I was picturing what you were saying as we were talking, Phil, because it is a lot, and it's a lot of things happening there. I felt the complexity of that in my own experience, my own body, as you were speaking and sharing.
Yeah, like it's one example for sure. I don't feel a lot of tension around that, but I do feel a little bit, like I won't lie. Just feeling like at what point do our feet touch the ground and we've got enough solidity here to say like, oh, we did this and it's functioning and it's actually feeding back to us. Sure. And also I noticed like in other contexts too, where I also have felt the same sort of thing. And I think like it's about like, there's a few things like I've identified with Rob where like I have felt tension around like feminine leadership, like what does that look like? How does that feel? Like what are people ready for on that level? All the way through to like bringing like spirituality into like everyday life. Like I seem to like try to want to do all these things that are a bit like edgy in all these areas, and it's like really frustrating to have to be like not seeing a really solid path like for some of these things, like except where I make them, like where I have to forge that path. Which yeah, it's a bit tiring in some ways. So yeah, and I think it is this move, like moving from like this idea is like in the past of a care economy, right? Where like everyone recognizes that the care economy is unappreciated, like it's outside of the existing economy and all that. But there's so much more to care than just like taking care of a child or taking care of a sick elder. Like we're caring about each other all the time and doing like actual heart work with each other all the time. Well, we could be if we let that into the spaces that we're in. Because it has so much like power in doing that. And so to me, like that's like another edge where like how is that real? Like is it ever going to be real? Or is it just like a nice to have like on the side? Yeah, Justin.
I get the sense, like what's coming up for me, which is not a solution to I think what you're saying also is like I have the same tension in life still, at so many levels. So I keep trying to rename what I do, or I keep trying to build right containers for it. I keep trying to find the right community, and some of it's just like time. Like if you're at the edge of edges, eventually the edge does find its center, but it does just take some time, and it's also very hard along the way. But also there's probably sustainable practices that I've learned that have kept me afloat in that gap time. But what I wanted to also say was I noticed that like in today, I have to always kind of bring it, but like in the space today, like Marianne and not Kelvin, but not Calvin, I forgot his name,
Kenny.
but Kenny. No, no, Kenny. Yeah, Kenny.
Kenny.
They were both kind of like, as new people in the paradigm, they were like shook by the concepts themselves. You know, they're like, whoa, and like, you know, my world may not be what I thought it was gonna be. You know, that's not what they were like, but those people need care and they need support and they need help. We're like me, you, Saya. You know, we're like Deborah. We're like, oh, let's go into all the things that are deep and like, you know, we're like all up in the things. And they're like, wait a second, you mean I've been living in a weird way for my whole life? I had no idea. So they're attracted to something. They don't really know how to navigate that. And those are people that could really use like your service in a very particular kind of way that's different than like some of us may we you know, it's a different dynamic in relationship, and they also may have more access to say like base level funding to help to pay for some of that support service, right? So their needs may be very basic compared to what is most interesting and challenging, compelling, but they also are showing up in support of you or this in a very interesting way. And so I was thinking about your role as community catalyst manager, queen woman guide of all eternity and the essence, and how that thing has, you know, how those people, particularly those two who had not been here before, they don't know much about it, really do need, you know, maybe in different subtle ways, right? Not necessarily the depth of all your being, but they do need your care, love, supporting guidance, and being able to work with and integrate and find their way through these things. And that's kind of what I heard them saying or naming at some level, right? There's an emotional, spiritual experience that happens when new economic systems come into your life in this way. And so I just wanted to point that out to that part of maybe the evolution is like, when you have a role in traditional organizations, it defines what you do and how you get to do it in a way that could be constraining. But when you're building your own role, it's actually like, it just gives you boundaries by which to operate in that make it easier to transact with people. And so I was thinking about how in this particular place, that role can really be a safe way to address value for your work, but also to be able to be of service and bring that spirit, that care, that love, that healing into like people entering this new community, but also in this economic paradigm. Because I think that's just an opportunity I noticed that was kind of coming up. That was kind of invisible, but also visible a little bit.
Yeah, like I would, if they come in, I would be like, give them a wash down with like purified water and rose petals and be like, oh, you've got this gaping wound in your back, like here, like let's stop that. Let's stitch that up. And like, yeah, just like give them a little assessment. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I mean, I know that's sort of going on well, to me, right, a little bit of a different topic, but it's not even, I'm just sort of noticing, right, like it's very heartwarming to me. I think that for the most part, we've been, you know, like at this stage, we're trying to build this for folks, you know, who may not have the same, you know, kind of, you know, concepts in front of mind. But for the most part, we've been, you know, interacting and building with people who are pretty in this, you know. You start talking about, right, forms of capital and all this, right? And it's not, that language is already there. So I think it's to think about how to support people who are coming in, you know, a little more fresh. Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of heartwarming to me. But anyways, that's just kind of a side note.
Yeah. I don't I feel like I've shared enough, like I don't feel like the need to further.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. It's great to hear. I appreciate it. I mean, I think that's, I just, appreciating what you're saying, appreciating you saying it, being able to take that in, right? And then to just have that as part of our, you know, part of what's here.
Yeah, like one thought that probably would be good for me to finish up is like, also like, is the desire, like we've got some people coming to us who do desire to experience this new thing. But what if our skills lie in having this, like entering people into this new paradigm and they don't want to be in it? Like, or there's some like blockages or resistance. Like say like we could be like consultants, you know, to some high level like orgs, but if they're like, nah, that's we're not into that. Like we don't care, we don't want that. Like it sort of renders us powerless. Like, so how do we make our love like and our offerings like the most powerful to actually be effective as possible? I think is one question that comes out from all this for me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, all this, when we're talking about all this, I mean, for me, I'm always thinking about like my, experience with, in the healing realm and health and wellness. And to me, it's the same kind of thing, right? It's just moving into new paradigms. Um, and my teacher Gabrielle, like when I first, she'd have recordings, right? And so when I first hear recordings or go to these classes, it was like, especially the recordings, I remember I could only listen to them for like 10 or 15 minutes, and I'd have to turn them off because it'd like short circuit my brain. Because the concepts and the ideas, it was so like paradigm shifting for me, and just so hard to yeah, I'm like there's truth here, but I it's hard to understand. And then, after the years, right? Now you just kind of like hear talk about it, and it's like, oh yeah, sure, whatever, being changes and whatever, energetic bodies and blah blah. Um,
Mm.
and so, yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting framework. Yeah, that seems very similar. And so I think it's this way where like we're offering what we're offering. And I think in a sense, so this is what's coming to me, like now in this moment. Like we're offering what we're offering, and people are going to be ready for it when they're ready for it. And that doesn't mean that we can't sort of cater how we share that offering or how we help people. But
Yeah.
if an organization doesn't like want to step into a new paradigm, even dipping their pinky toe into it, then I'm not sure what to, how to make them.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Can I say one more thing? That's like more technical and we're at time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
I'm gonna burp a little bit though. Okay, I burped for fun. We made it. I'm trying to be human with you guys. I'm just being cool and
So
human.
real.
And so real. He burps. Oh my gosh. He's eating dinner. He's walking around. He spilled dog food on the floor. No one noticed.
He's so real. Walking like a real person.
Oh my gosh. He moves. He doesn't live at a seat. No, I don't live in my seat, Christine. Thank you for thinking that. Sorry. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so I responded to someone's need. I just put a comment on there, so we'll see what happens. That was for like some type of facilitation curriculum design thing. It felt a little risky. I'm not gonna lie, but did that happen today? So what's up? And then also, I have a thing. So like I'm finishing up a certification. Like it's like a train the trainer, but I'm not gonna train the trainers. But it's called Huddlecraft 101, which is a peer-to-peer led approach to ecosystemic interventions. And it has like this really kind of cool tool set. And they give me all these resources to be able to help organizations learn how to like talk about yourself better, how to buddy up and work together in pairs, how to execute and have small groups that create network effects. How do you have interventions that are actually able to create or bring solutions about that solve ecosystemic needs, and how do you make them integrate with ecosystem as a whole? And so I would love to find some way. It's not really a voucher. It's more like an HSC thing where like I think it would be cool to like work together, like either with like your community or like your or with like not the mailing list. That sounds like messed up. But like I would love to host this maybe in partnership with you guys, and then either charge for it or not charge for it, or bring some money in that way. Maybe it's not too soon because you have this one thing ending, but also it could be a next kind of continuation point because it's like someone in the community offering a clear service, very aligned to the nature of the holistic systems cooperative energy, and it's like a developmental kind of thing, and also may help. So I don't know. Those are my thoughts. I'm not trying to pitch it. I just want to say I have and the Delta I brought up. I have these like interventions I've been trained in that are valuable and would help to advance not only the cooperative but also the people in it. And I just don't know what to do with them because it's not really a voucher. It's not really like I guess it's an offering, but that feels like not accurate because I'm not trying to have someone random accept it from me. I'm trying to like do it different. Maybe I am. I don't actually know, but it's a contemplation point, which we talk about another day. But it's kind of like it's more of it's different, I guess. And I just wanted to find some way to just name it because I need to be doing them. Like my need is to do these things, and it's an offer, and I don't know how it fits into the app, but it does feel like it fits into into this kind of economy. I think it can be beneficial at some level. So that's just that's kind of my closing thought. I was looking up the different places to post things, and I was like, I don't even know where this goes or if it goes anywhere on here. And so I think that's just a learning that may just want to come into and explore at some other time. Cool.
I feel like I need to listen to that all over again and just try to capture all the pieces of what you're just saying. Because there was a lot of excitement and also it felt very relevant, but I didn't quite grab it.
Yeah. Well, there's a way. I know. I need to re-listen to it too. But there is a way where I'm getting that it might be right, because there's like there's our offerings, and then there's the vouchers, but there's also something that we were doing for a while that people were really into. Like we were doing the skill shares. That's what we were calling them, skill shares. But it was basically like different people would put on like a workshop, about a specific topic, that they were like a subject matter expert in. And right, and they would bring that, as an offering to the group. And that was, I think that's still like a really viable additional way of exchanging like, something that's really valuable. So I don't know if that's, if it fits more into that kind of bucket, because I think that's a bucket where we were playing in that bucket for a while, and then it's, it hasn't really been around, but I still think that's, a piece that could be
To me, it's
a pillar.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it could be, but to me, it sounds almost like a different way for us to reach new people. Yeah. Tasty. Yeah. Yeah, because I think that what he's describing, I'm not sure though, so I have to like re-listen to it probably, but like
Yeah. We'll run it through AI and it can tell us, hey, what did Justin say
what
here?
did Justin say?
What did Justin say?
This person talking about an offering. What does he mean?
It seemed exciting because he was going off about it, but I'm not really sure 100% why he was so excited, but I want to be that excited too. You will be, y'all.
Yeah, the emotions just took over. I was like, yeah. But yeah, like I don't know, in my way of thinking, maybe I got it all wrong, but I could imagine like little huddle craft series that invites people to go as deep as they need to come into this new paradigm. Is that kind of what you're talking about? Yeah. And that's like it's very complementary offering with what we're doing here, but Justin would do it in his own really unique way and attract like certain type of the people. And we need that. Like I think as we were talking about before, like we have some people here who are already speaking the same language and are aware of the concepts, and we need to grow to like the next groups of people who still want to learn about that, and it's like a new fresh thing for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I like a co-offer that we could like offer together at some level, I could facilitate and host it, but maybe it's like co-offered and it could serve the Catalyst group, but may serve other people in the community or other partners that you want to build in a unique kind of way, attracting more people onto the HSC app and to the network a little bit. Strengthen the network to just like educational offering that helps everyone perform better in this economy, but also is a unique attractor to people who are more resonant with that particular type of kind of language. That's what and it's designed to be profitable too, so we can possibly make a little money, or we can find some right way to do it in a good way. So there's revenue coming in, because it's something they we normally charge for.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it does sound like that. It's like that's another bucket, right? That like it's different than that sort of internal skill share, and it's more like these like a collaborative, a collaborative project, with others. So like that's one thing, right? So we set up, Christine and I set up with this person, Charlie, right, who has this organization called Human Work. And so it's very complementary. So Charlie's going to, run a like a workshop, and but it's not, like running it's like a co-workshop. It's not like, oh, this is just HSC's thing, or this is just like a Human Work thing. It's like a co-thing between two different organizations. So it might go in that bucket. I'm not saying like we have to fit everything into a bucket, but I like to do that,
You like
I don't know, does that sound like what you were thinking about, Christine?
The network partnership bucket. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. I'm putting in
That's
the
a big
network
bucket. Damn. Yeah, I think so. Well, I think it works because I did look at Justin's like Huddlecraft page a while back. I think when you first started coming in, I had a look, and I see that it operates in a certain way, and like I think we wouldn't want to change that. Like I think the beauty would be Justin doing it in his way, and then we've already started to develop like course materials and things for what we're imagining as like a community economy 101. But this would speed up that process like 100-fold, to have you involved, and also with all of your skills. And also like what we end up with, like other little modules that we create, that could either be a part of what you're sharing in this, what you're imagining, or it could also sit separately as well, where it's like more in depth, more detailed. So like they go through your thing first to get them there, and then when they're like ready for like the nuts and bolts, then that's like part 2. So there could be a few different ways that it could work.
Yeah, I like what Christine's putting down, honestly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Huddlecraft has a lot of material methodology, so all the things that I would use in that, I could also leave with you. So they have like roll cards, they have user manuals of me to help people name how they best work and what their needs are and how to name them, right? So a lot of things we're kind of going through the app. It's actually, they have some really cool social toolkits that people can use, and that's all things that you guys can keep using after we do that, right? So by building that partnership, by hosting this space, it also kind of resource whatever you guys kind of create as your own unique content as well. And that could be valuable as well. But yeah, I think it sounds like a thing. I just want to name it because it's definitely alive for me, and I'm looking for opportunities to put this into practice. And I think just noticing like, yeah, it's a good way for me, I think, to bring something into HSC, and for us to kind of continue to collaborate if y'all are into it as we get closer to it.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
My heart goes boom. Boom.
Boom, boom,
boom.
Yeah. And I think it would be amazing
Oh.
for like existing groups. Like I think just off the top of my head, I'm like, I could see a community who's like ready for this, and they're like, oh, but we want to dip our toes in. Let's see. And then they go through this portal with Justin's portal.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there could be, right. It sounds like there's having different portals.
Yeah. Exactly.
And yeah. And it is, right. I mean, I think it fits with the model, right, of like collaborating and having these in this, network kind of way. But it's also, Justin's not like it's just like a random third party, right? It's like part of this group, and then, right, so it's it's the energy, the whatever, I don't know, my brain's starting to go. but it all
Okay.
yeah, it's
Cool.
it's intertwined in these ways that where the flows, feel generative.
Mhm.
I definitely will be generative. Yeah, thank you for the extra time and for the gnarly bits and for listening to me.
Yeah.
Thanks for feeling me. I feel heard and received, and I really appreciate you holding the space in this way. Okay. I mean,
I feel like a baby duckling. Oh.
A baby duckling.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
All right, bye, Justin.
Should we stop the recording?
Okay. Oh, sure. Bye, people watching.